It begins softly. Nobody pays attention at first. You're 7 years old looking into the eyes of a parent unraveling. Maybe it's substance abuse. Maybe it's rage. Maybe it's the empty quiet of someone too shattered to be present. And without a sound, something primal locks into your young mind. If I don't keep everything steady, no one will. This is how a child fades. Not in body, but in spirit. They grin more. They weep less. They learn to sense the room before they talk. They turn into the emotional gauge of the family. They turn into little adults long before their minds are prepared, and society applauds them for it. You're so grown up. You're so dependable. You're so tough. But nobody ever pauses to wonder, at what price? This is the hidden sorrow of those who matured too soon. And today we're diving deep into the mind of that child because the impact doesn't fade with time. It molds you. It trails you into love, work, your sense of value. And if you don't grasp what occurred, you'll live your grown years replaying the coping patterns that once protected you but are now quietly destroying you. Let's begin with what's truly happening in development. When kids are pushed to emotionally carry adults instead of being cared for, experts call this parentification. It's when a child turns into the caretaker, the mediator, the counselor, the guardian. This isn't just damaging, it reshapes the brain. Because when a child is repeatedly made responsible for emotional control, whether their own or someone else's, it builds something known as hypervigilance. You're constantly searching for threats. You tread carefully. You discover that affection is an exchange. You offer calm and maybe they'll offer you protection. You realize that your needs are risky and theirs are pressing. So you vanish, not in body, but in feeling. And in your spot emerges a version of you that excels. You become the obedient child, the silent success, the counselor friend, the one who never requests a thing. And you carry that role so flawlessly that even you forget it's a disguise. But underneath, something stings. Something throbs because the younger self you hid never vanished. They're still inside, crying quietly. Why didn't anyone keep me safe? As you get older, the signs become more layered. You might turn hyper-independent. You reject support, shut people out, or never feel completely secure in love. You may feel empty in joyful moments because happiness seems strange, undeserved, even threatening. You may find it hard to relax because working is the only way you've ever felt valuable. And worst of all, you may not even notice you're still locked in survival mode. Because when dysfunction is taught early, your nervous system treats chaos as normal. Silence feels uneasy. Calm feels suspicious. Love feels like a debt waiting for payment. This is the mindset of a child forced to mature too soon. It's more than sorrow. It's a deep trauma that reshapes how you see the world, and more importantly, yourself. Now you may wonder why any child would willingly accept that role. Because children will sacrifice anything for connection, even abandon themselves. The decision is never deliberate, it's instinctive. Without safety, the child gives up authenticity for acceptance. That's not frailty. That's wisdom. That's survival. But the sorrow is this: what protected you then traps you now. Countless of us move through life as capable adults with deeply abandoned inner children steering the wheel. We overperform to feel loved. We stay quiet to prevent rejection. We look after everyone, yet secretly hope someone would simply ask if we're all right. And that dream that someone will see you're not as tough as you act, that maybe, just maybe, you'll finally get to collapse and be embraced. That is the unhealed need, not of your grown self, but of the child who never had the chance to be a child. The first step to healing isn't repairing, it's acknowledging. Because until you accept what happened, you'll keep dismissing yourself with thoughts like, it wasn't so bad, others had it harder, I'm doing okay. But okay is a disguise too, and deep inside, you sense it. So, what becomes of that child once they grow older? They turn into adults who never feel secure even in quiet spaces. They turn into partners who can't trust gentleness. They turn into providers who can't accept care. They turn into the kind of people who say sorry for tears, recoil at praise, and mistake burnout for achievement. This is the price of maturing too soon. Because if your childhood taught you to be tough instead of tender, to be silent instead of truthful, to mend others while neglecting your own wounds, then what kind of adulthood do you receive? You receive a life where you're always holding your breath, waiting for someone to allow you to finally break down. But here's the reality. No one's arriving to save the child you buried. You are the one who must return and take their hand. You are the one who must speak what nobody else ever spoke. You didn't earn that. You were only a child. You can rest now. This is the start of shadow work. Not repairing, not proving, not avoiding the pain with false optimism, but facing the forsaken parts of yourself and saying, I notice you now. I listen to you now, and I'm staying. That is the healing process. And it's harsh because it demands you to face the grief you never had space to feel. It demands you to sit with the anger, the sadness, the unmet needs, to cry for the birthdays where nobody came, to grieve the innocence you lost while shielding those who should have shielded you. But that grief, it's not frailty. It's evidence that you're mending. Because what was once stuck is finally releasing. Now let's discuss how this coping pattern appears in adulthood, quietly, painfully, and often unseen. You may become a counselor in all your relationships, yet never allow anyone to truly know you. You may be admired for your self-reliance when deep inside you're afraid of being a weight. You may find yourself in relationships where you overperform, constantly repairing, controlling, over-justifying, and questioning why you feel bitter. You may wrestle with boundaries because refusing still feels like disloyalty. These are not character traits. They are survival strategies, taught, ingrained, and the good news, releasable. But only when you stop glorifying your toughness and start respecting your pain. One of the strongest things you can do is ask your younger self, what did I need then that I never received? You may hear replies like, I needed someone to tell me it wasn't my fault. I needed someone to ask how I was feeling. I needed to play, relax, and smile without worry. And slowly, ever so slowly, you start offering those things to yourself, not to repair your past, but to end repeating it. This is how you stop searching for parents in your lovers. This is how you stop confusing fear for intuition. This is how you stop escaping from the child you were and the self you're evolving into. Carl Jung once said, there is no awakening to awareness without suffering. People will try anything, no matter how irrational, to avoid confronting their own soul. But shadow work requires that we confront it, every part of it, the forgotten, the guilty, the fearful, the furious. Because healing isn't about turning into someone else. It's about recalling who you were before the world dictated who to become. So, if you're someone who matured too early, know this: your responsibility was never the issue. The issue was that you had no option. But now you do. You can choose gentleness. You can choose to pause. You can choose to stop carrying everyone else's feelings and start valuing your own. And no, it won't shift instantly. There will be moments you feel like a kid again. Good. That's the purpose. Let that child return. Let them weep. Let them laugh. Let them finally be noticed, because you're not damaged. You're becoming complete. And maybe for the very first time, you're truly maturing the right way. Not through force, not through dread, but through honesty. You never had a childhood, but you still hold a future. And this time, you get to create it.